Okay, let's talk about rice and diabetes, the case of Indonesia. Why? Because first, we rank in the top 10 countries with the most diabetes case. Second, white rice has often been blamed for diabetes. And third, Indonesians eat a lot of it, and we do have increasing rate of diabetes over time. So it's worth to ponder. If you don't know, Indonesia is that country pointed on the map, the largest archipelago in the world and the world's fourth most populous country. Its growing economy leads to increase in diabetes cases, and its projection over time is not pretty at all. Our question is, can it also be related to rice? Let's get down to the fact. Look at how fast it grows. The case is almost doubled within only 6 years. In 2013, there were 12 million people who had diabetes, and 52 million others had abnormal glucose tolerance tests, while 64 million with abnormal fasting glucose tests. More women than men suffering from diabetes, and most of them are coming from middle and upper income level group. So we should go to the bottom of this, right? Is rice the elephant in the room? And then we have this. The studies included in the meta-analysis followed people for anywhere from 4 to 22 years, tracking their food intake, and all the participants were diabetes-free at the beginning of the study. The study shows that the risk for diabetes is higher among those who consume more white rice. They also found that for every extra serving of white rice, assuming 158 grams per serving, the risk of type 2 diabetes increased by about 11%, and Asians are more prone to this effect compared to their Caucasian counterpart. This obsession about rice and noodle in some degree with diabetes is not new. It's a prime suspect since white rice does have a high glycemic index, means it will easily spike your blood sugar, and if you eat it in abundance, your glycemic load or sugar load will skyrocket as well. Other than that, it also has very low fiber. However, there are also other ways on how white rice harm our sugar balance, other than via its glycemic load, but it is a maybe. Though some studies suggest that eating brown rice may modestly decrease the risk of type 2 diabetes, but still larger studies were needed to look at any benefit of substituting brown rice for white rice. Okay, did you read the whole sentence or just the one highlighted? Yes, right? It is easy to lose the forest. Now, how not to lose the forest among the trees? Because diabetes surely is a jungle. Let's go back to our case. How about Indonesia? Here, diabetes is related to age, sex, socioeconomic group, and obesity. What does this fact imply? This means we know nothing if rice has anything to do with diabetes in Indonesia, but we have these other facts. Our rice consumption is decreasing at the rate of 1.02% per year. Not much, but is decreasing in the last 10 years. And rice is still the main staples. However, the consumption is higher among high economic status. So, it is a case for rice, right? But also mind the consumption of animal protein. It is also higher among this group, and not to mention the lack of physical activities. While we know this, studies have shown carbohydrate and animal protein combo increases insulin release, and if you are prone to insulin resistance, it is up to no good. Endogenous hyperinsulinemia is associated with insulin resistance, thus diabetes. So maybe in the case of Indonesia, it is not the white rice per se that is to blame, but it is on how much it is taken and with substantial amount of protein or not. But again, this is just a maybe, based on the consumption pattern of rice and protein, and also considering which socioeconomic group is more prone to diabetes. Let's go back to this research, shall we? First, we need to mind that the study was not designed to show how white rice may increase the risk for diabetes. It cannot be concluded that the increased diabetes incidence occurred because of the higher rice intake and could be due to other lifestyle factors or genetic variation. This is the conclusion from one of the studies in Japan that is used in the meta-analysis. As you can read in the highlight, you see that there is sex and physical activities at play. So, diabetes is never just about one thing. It's what you eat, what you do, and your genes. We cannot change our gene, but there are two types of genes. The dictators, which dictate your health, and then the committee, which take your action into consideration. And for diabetes, it is likely the committees. Thus, it is important to think about how our food influences this committee in order to decide on our health. But maybe it's also about white rice. However, it is not the white rice per se, but also how much rice. Since cutting your rice consumption will basically reducing your calorie intake, in which will prevent us from obesity. The same goes for intake of fruit and vegetables and also physical activities. The evidence is stronger on the correlation between obesity and diabetes. Thus, the sentence that rice is the elephant in the room in this case of diabetes in Indonesia, well, I think we will need more evidence. To wrap up, here are some points to ponder about diabetes and rice in Indonesia. 1. In Indonesia, diabetes is related to age, sex, more female than male, socioeconomic group, more middle and upper class patients, and obesity, especially central obesity. Rice is a main staple food, with the consumption is higher among higher socioeconomic group, along with the consumption of animal protein. The question then, does rice or the shifting of the diet pattern play the bigger role in diabetes in Indonesia? Third, excessive consumption of rice as much as 420 grams or more than 3 bowls a day, and of anything with it, of course, is associated with diabetes. That is for sure. Some of the mechanisms implied are glycemic index, glycemic load, low fiber, micronutrients, and endogenous hyperinsulinemia. However, does the increasing number of diabetes patients in Indonesia is caused by rice? And how much rice? Is it the same as in Japan or China, or is it different? It's not that clear yet. Thus, we need further research. The verdict is pending. But still, watch out of those calories because we do know that obesity is closely linked to diabetes. Thank you.